Hey, book lovers! I'm Aubrey.
And I'm Peyton.
And today we are ranking our top 5 romantasy books.
Yes, so join us for a cup of coffee as we dive between these paper sheets.
All right.
Let's do it. All right, everybody, welcome. This is a different kind of episode. We're breaking away from some of our book reviews because, oh my God, we've been in the trenches of book reviews. It has been so fun to start off the year that way, but we are excited to bring you a little bit of a different video. Now, I do need to preface this, and this isn't a huge deal, but we are going to try our best to not give any spoilers when it comes to these books. But with that being said, it's romantasy, so spoilers for romantic partners. So if that's like a huge deal to you, I mean, I'm sure if anyone's on TikTok and we picked very popular books, you already know if you haven't read yet. And so for our whole list, if you want it spoiled for you right now, and that's totally fair, I would do the same thing. In the caption below, we have all the books, and so if you don't want to know the romantic partners for one of our books we'll be talking about, you can not watch the video and then come back and watch it with us, or
we can timestamp the sections so that way you know when we're talking about certain books if you want to skip past them.
I love that idea. Yep, so we'll timestamp it so you can kind of scroll through and skip on by those certain books. But we're super excited. But yeah, minor spoilers for that.
Yes. Also, we are talking romantasy, and romantasy is kind of like a new genre. Like, the stories being told aren't new, but the classification. I mean, Tor just came out with Bramble last year, which is the romantasy offshoot, and Tor is already like an offshoot of Macmillan for fantasy, so like it's a hot mess. So how you classify romantasy books may be different than us. There are no official guidelines yet. I looked on Goodreads and they tried to put Curl Prince in romantasy, and I was like, that's not it. That's not true. Because there is a difference between a fantasy book with a romantic subplot than romantasy. And so romantasy for us is if it's like 50-50. Like 50% of this book was plotted as a romance, 50% of this book was plotted as a fantasy novel. And you can kind of tell when you're reading, like, oh, does this feel like a romance book set in a fantasy setting with fantasy shit going on? Like, yeah, okay. So just a little warning there. Let's get into it. Peyton, what is your number 5? What is your top 5 fifth romantasy
book in the top 5?
Yeah.
So top 5 videos are very hard because think about all the other romantasy books I did not pick over these certain books. Yeah, exactly. So my number 5 is actually Iron Flame.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So Iron Flame for me, it's his top 5. It's nowhere near my top 3 because it was a wonderful, amazing, great book.
But it's book 2.
It's book 2, which book 2 is actually usually my favorite. But looking at this list, I'm like, maybe not.
Maybe I'm lying to myself.
I based it off 1. So yeah, Iron Flame. I mean, it's the second in the Empyrean series. I hear we're getting 5 of these, so the romantasy plot, who knows where it's going to go. But yeah, this is the second book. Of course, we all know Fourth Wing. That is the first book in the series. So this came out in November, and we popped off with our content for Iron Flame. So be sure to go hear our full review on that.
Yeah.
But with that being said, there were some parts of this book where I'm like, okay.
Yeah. That's a bold choice. Iron Flame is not in my top 5.
But the thing is, it's like I love this series. So
you love Fourth Wing.
Yes. And I love the characters, but it just so happens that my favorite character is Violet. And she was such a whiny brat in the beginning of this book. And I understand, and I've read so many articles with Rebecca Yarros, and she's like, she's 21, guys. Like, she's going through her first relationship, and that's difficult. And like, honestly, Yeah, I kind of related to some of that where it's like, yeah, I've
Yeah.
definitely
I'm
done
a
that.
whiny bitch
I'm a
too.
whiny bitch too. Like,
But
so
I don't wanna read about myself for, like, 800 pages.
yeah, guys, it's a very long book. So
But so hot.
it's
It's such a
come
good
on,
book.
come on, come on. And also
I
the
l
Waterstone
Yeah.
edition. Come on, girl.
Ugh. I loved Iron Flame, and I loved all the hype that we did around Iron Flame, but when I'm
Yes.
thinking romantasy, like, I don't know, a book where the couple fights the entire time.
She just wanted to bring back the tension, and it got
Yeah.
annoying after a while. But
I
Zayden,
think it's a good book, I just don't think it's a good, like, romantasy book, if that makes sense. Like, I love the Fourth Wing series, and I'm excited to continue,
but
but
there's just that little point where you're like, it's
yeah.
like I got that Bryson Hunt Crescent City 3
Oh
vibe
my
for a
god.
little bit. Because I
If you
know
know,
that
you
is,
know.
we did not categorize Crescent City, but like, same thing if you know, you know.
Yeah. So the only Sarah J. Maas books that we are categorizing as romantasy is the acotar series. Because, I mean, Throne of Glass, which I am obsessed with, and it has a strong romance subplot, but that's a fantasy epic. I'm sorry. If the last book is all war and, like,
Yes.
not a single sex scene, it's not it's
Yup.
not the romantasy.
Crescent City borders that, but we
Yes.
do not want this whole episode to be Sarah J. Maas, so that's
Yes.
totally fair.
However, guys,
Yes.
I made my list and I don't trust my opinions anymore.
She was
Like
having a hard time.
I literally was having an existential crisis like 2 minutes ago before we started filming as I was gathering my books. I think I need to read more romantasy. I think that's the issue, honestly, because there's too much JLA on this pile.
Oh, hey girl, if
There's
it hits, it hits.
Okay, so my first one, my 5 is A Shadow in the Ember. Okay, because this is the prequel series of From Blood and Ash for anyone who does not know. The prequel series is a banger, or at least the first 2 are. The last one kind of sucks, or the most recent one, because there's more coming out, of course. I am obsessed with this book. I love Sarah. She is my main chick. So in this book, I don't even know, like, the plot of these books are so fucking hard to describe.
So
We
Ash,
do
yeah.
Yeah, I think do we have a review of this book, or do we only have a review of the later 2?
I think we
I'm
only
not
have
sure.
a review of the later 2 because I don't even think we had
Yeah.
the podcast when I was reading that. That came out
Yeah, I don't think so.
like before we even met, I think.
Yeah, like the fall before we met that spring, and this came out in the fall.
Yes, but because A Shadow in the Ember and the prequel series have Draken, which
Yes.
I mean, I love Fourth Wing. Dragons are like the coolest
Mhm.
thing ever to me.
Absolutely.
I'm
Yes.
wearing my dragon shirt today. So they show up in this book, and like that is why it deserves to be on the list.
Yes. Okay, so I think I got it. Sarah is a mortal princess who is promised to the god of death in order to stop a rot that is taking over the
Correct.
lands.
Yes.
But when he's like supposed to pick her up and like
Never does.
take her off to the underworld, he doesn't show up. So then like the rot continues, and then all these people are turning into monsters. And like, I mean, obviously it's a romantasy, so she does meet up with the god of death at some point in the series, and like the love interest Ash is a god, and
The tension.
the tension in this book. I also obsessed with like there's kind of a power role or like experience role switch in this book. Like typically in romantasy books, we have the like 500-year-old male who used to like fuck women in houses and like brothels and has slept with countless women, and they're so experienced. And then we have like our little 19-year-old virgin, which is so many series. It's the From Blood and Ash original series. It's acotar. It's everything. But in this series, our god is actually like a baby god, and so I like. They never say how old he is, but he's like, I don't know. I'm guessing like 70 or something like that, which actually kind of sounds gross. But Anyways,
Yeah,
so
it always does. We don't think too much about it when it
yeah.
comes to romantasy. Just ignore the age gap and it's okay.
But
They
when
look 20.
yeah, when the number is up at, like, 500, you're like, "Okay, whatever," like, that's incomprehensible. But, like, when the number is 70, it's like, "No, I know 70-year-old men." Like,
Yeah,
you're
you're like,
70, but, like,
ugh.
the maturity of the gods acts differently. So he's, like, in his 20s, and Ash is a little virgin boy. And Sarah is the experienced one because she was taught, like, all these things in preparation for, like, the marriage she was supposed to have, and I don't know. I loved that, like, switch in
Power dynamic.
experience. Yeah, the power, because, like, he's still a god and she's still a human, but she's, like, more experienced and more confident in herself and who she is. So yes, I love this book, and I'm actually going to take my number 4 already, uh, because it is the second one.
Okay, and that's fair because my number 4 was Shadow and the Emperor or whatever the hell it's called.
Cool. Yeah.
And so,
We'll
yes.
pull it up so we can all talk.
Yes. So I think this is a great point to, I mean, I don't know what the rest of your books are, and this is what makes this episode so exciting.
Yeah.
But I am so obsessed with this prequel series. Like, you don't even know, because I read From Blood and Ash and all those books up to A War of Two Queens. Well, I guess whatever that stupid last one was of retelling.
Yeah,
but with that being said, these prequel series pop the F off. They are so good.
Yes.
Sarah and Daddy, you know what? Like, oh my gosh, when we started the podcast, I was like, he is my favorite male love interest. Like, I was obsessed with him. And just, like, I love when there's, like, a dagger involved with, like, I don't know. So, with that being said, yeah, that was my number 4. So, I'm happy that we are at least putting these in the same place.
Putting them close to each other. I have a funny story. I was reading, I think, Light and Flame. I'm not entirely sure. One of these on campus, when it came out, because that's when Peyton and I were back in college. And this girl comes up to me, random girl I've never seen before in my life. She's like, "Oh my gosh, like, you're reading this book?" And I was like, "Yeah, I am." And, like, just, like, we were starting to have, like, a really casual conversation because she had read the From Blood and Ash books. And I was like, "Oh yeah, I think I actually like Ash more than the main love interest in the From Blood and Ash books." And she goes, "Oh yeah, I guess he's daddy," and then walked away. And I was like,
you're like, oh, do we just say that?
Do we just like we both know that, like, I'm reading these, like, very, like, smutty, poorly written books, but so entertaining things in public. But, like, our conversation was 30 seconds long, and it ended with her being like, "Yeah, I guess he's daddy."
And that's so funny because, and I think this is before. I think it was the third one. I forget. A Fire in the Flesh. I had to bring up a cheat sheet because these names, I forget about it. Like,
I know, I'm, like, looking back, like, what the fuck?
Forget about it. Yeah. So she literally calls the main love interest daddy, and then his name's like, she brought that in, and that's so funny. And that's before that girl would have, like, seen that. So funny. I guess he's daddy.
I guess he's daddy. Anyways, what's your number 3, Peyton?
My number 3 is A Court of Silver Flames. Since I know this is definitely on your list, it's probably your number 1. We don't have to talk too much about it, but from my perspective, we'll try to give I know Aubrey and I's list, as they already have, will overlap. So I'm going to try to give my perspective of this. We all go into this book. This book is about Nesta. It's about Farah in the main actoar series sister. She is thick. Going into this book, let's be honest, Nesta ruined the Christmas special, which was A Court of Frost and Starlight. And every time I talk about Nesta, I'm scared to talk about Nesta.
Yeah.
But all I have to say is that I really respect the healing journey that she goes through in these books. But that aside, y'all, this is one of the smuttiest books I have ever read. I thought like
Yes.
the actoar series, that was my like first real introduction to romantasy, was the actoar series, and it was actually my best friend Neva that was like, you need to read actoar. And she actually bought me the book and sent it to my house. And so I read it, and then of course, you know, the obsession with Sarah J. Maas takes off, and oh my gosh, the romance in this story was something I didn't know I needed. Oh my gosh, it's everything. Yeah. And also the romance she has, like the friendly romance she has with a lot of friends throughout the book, and like the power of girl power and friendships. Yes. And that's love too. So I loved how Sarah kind of wrapped all of those themes into this book. But I'm going to be completely honest. There's a whole chapter in this book about a blowjob. And I forgot that was a thing. And so imagine when I give this series to my mother and she's listening to the audiobooks. And she's like, Peyton, I was literally on my way to work and I'm in my car with this, you know, full volume. She's on that chapter where, you know, Nesta's having fun. And she's like, I'm like looking around like I'm doing something wrong.
Was that your mom's like first like real smutty scene?
It was her first like romantasy. Well, actually no, she read from Blood and Ash first, and that gets pretty
okay.
But
yeah.
This goes places I didn't know that was possible. So that's my number 3, and I'm gonna put it up here.
Yes. So the top 3 section, this whole list I think is very interesting because a lot of the times Peyton and I's opinions are almost exactly the same. And we've read a lot of the same books, like our especially more recent books. Our romantasy list, I think, of books that we've read are exactly the same. But my number 3, close your eyes, Peyton.
Okay.
Is Fourth Ring.
Okay. That's fair.
And I feel like this is going to be your number 1. And I don't think our 2s are going to match at all.
Oh shit. Okay.
So I was thinking through before we started filming this. I was like, "Oh my god, our lists are going to be different. They're going to be super different."
Yeah, we just have different tastes in men.
Yeah. So I think our 3 and 1 are swapped.
Okay. Yeah, I knew that.
This is your 1. But Fourth Wing, again, I will also leave the stage of this to Peyton. I know she talked a little bit about Iron Flame. This book, honestly, I saw it on TikTok and I was like, okay. And it was like right when videos first started being made about this. It was not like the emergency media crisis that occurred later. And I sent it to Peyton and I was like, hey, like maybe we should read this for the podcast. Like, I don't know, like people seem to like it. It looks like it has dragons in it. That's all I knew. Yeah. Peyton and I literally bought the last 2 of the first edition at Target. Like they were still at Target and we got the last 2 that they had. And I started reading it, and the first 20 pages I was like, okay, this is good. Like,
yes,
this is
the pacing. Book. Yeah.
By the time I hit page 40, which I always try to read the first 40 pages of a book in one sitting, because I think that's how far into a book you have to get to like actually be engrossed and engaged with the content. By the time I hit page 40, I was sold. I was like, I texted Peyton, I was like, this is going to be a top book. This is going to be a top book of my life. Like, the pacing of this book is literally fucking insane. I think the, like, Violet and Xaden, this is the big spoil, because at first you think she's going to be with Dane. In the first chapter, she's like, Xaden's the hottest fucking person I've ever seen. And I think that gives you enough. But, like, the romance between them was hot. I made my husband read this, and I like filmed him like reading the first like sex scene. It was so funny, but he enjoyed it too. Like, men enjoy this book even as
they do.
romantasy, which is typically a genre of like mostly women,
Yeah.
romance, so romantasy. But yeah, it's a banger, guys. It's a banger. And this is the holiday edition.
Yes, I have that one too. I'm staring at it on my bookshelf right now.
Yeah.
It is. I had to. Was that your second?
That was 3.
3?
Yeah. So you can do your 2.
Okay. So this is hot tea. Because I have never rated a book higher than my number 2, actually. So my second is Acomath, according to Mr. Fairy. Y'all, this book and I go way back. Obviously spoiler alert for the love interest.
Yes.
Rhysand. Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is the book I found out that my actual real love is Asriel. But with that being said, y'all, Rhys and Farah's love story, as much as Farah pisses me off, I can't help but be like, yeah, but we're the same. Like, the same characteristics I hate about Farah, I hate about myself. And the first book that I chose is like this, obviously the same thing with that character. And it makes sense why my top 2 I connect with a lot, because I see myself in those characters. And yeah, so this is absolutely a banger. Everyone knows chapter 55. Farah's just painting her life away in the cabin scene, y'all. Not prepared. Shit goes down in this book. I always tell everyone, and there's someone in our book club that's like, I just don't like acotar, and I'm like, yeah, I gave acotar I think like a 3.5 because I couldn't get over the ending was amazing. But I couldn't get over the Beauty and the Beast retelling. And as someone who was a Belle girly growing up, I was like, but I know where this is going, and like I'm bored. Yeah. But Sarah took that and totally changed everything in this book. Yeah. And this is a monumental book for anybody who reads Sarah J. Maas. Whether you like Rhys and Farah or not, this book is like, wow. And honestly, this and Silver Flames to me is like the holy grail thus far in the Sarah J. Maas universe. I am reading Assassin's Blade right now, and I'm sure that'll change as I go through the Throne of Glass series, as everyone's, I feel, does. So check back with me in a few weeks when I finish that series, and I'm sure I'll be like, oh my god, this book
Queen of Shadows.
Like, Queen of Shadows beats Acomath, like, by far. And we'll see. But for right now, like, this was my number 1 book for since I started getting back into reading. So, like, 2.5 years, this has been my staple. But with that being said, like, and look at the blue. And my favorite color is blue. So I'm like, this is just it. Acomath. I can't believe this is my second and not my first, to be completely honest.
She's been in shock about it since May. Like, honestly, go back to our Fourth Wing video. She, and every video between that and this, like, we bring it up. She's like,
I feel like I'm cheating.
I don't understand.
I feel like I'm cheating on the book. I'm like, shh, don't look.
Don't look. No, I feel that. Honestly, I am someone who, I had the whole Tamlin Rhysand stuff spoiled for me.
And I didn't.
I think that ruined my experience. I think it totally did. Because every single page in ACOTAR, I was like, okay, when is Rhysand showing up? I don't trust Tamlin. I thought they were going to break up in book 1. But the shift, the narrative power of shifting a romantasy book 2, the love interest, and in a way that you're not expecting. Like, in Fourth Wing, you're expecting her to ditch Dane and go to Xaden.
Correct.
But Rhysand is set up completely as a villain who, like, might get a redemption arc in book 1.
Yes.
That's amazing. That's so powerful.
Yeah, and it's just the power, and it shows Sarah J. Maas's writing style.
Yes.
That she is able, because I was not spoiled from me, and I'm one of those girls that think Tamlin deserves a redemption arc, and that is such a hot take, but I do, because people are like, how can people that have it spoiled and they're reading Tamlin, they're like, how he just wants to protect her in the first book, where he's like, I just want you to be in this room and in this castle all day so you can paint and I can watch you paint. But then when we see that perspective change and Sarah's like, watch this, and like how Sarah was able to manipulate that is like crazy. It's master writing. It's like one you only see a couple of in like a generation of like we don't have writers like that. So she was able to take us from literally so in love with Tamlin to like hating him. And I did, like, I don't like the dude, but I went from like, I was like, oh my god, Tamlin, I am in love with Tamlin.
People got Tamlin tattoos.
The Tamlin girl. The Tamlin
tattoos.
Yeah, she's literally the Tamlin girl on TikTok. It is, God bless. I'm happy she's owning it. But yeah, guys, oh my gosh, love it. All right, Aubrey.
So good.
Book
okay. Guys, listen. Okay, we were just talking about Sarah J. Maas's writing, and I think she is an amazing writer. She doesn't strive for high prose, but you don't need to. Her ability, like, for characters, I literally have, like, a minor in creative writing. Like, I know what I'm talking about. Her ability to create characters is outstanding. However, I don't have any of the original trilogy on my list. Instead, my number 2 is another fucking JLA book.
That's fine. Oh wait, that one is so good.
And I thought about it and I was like, damn, like her writing is not good. Let's be honest. Actually, I take that back, because we read in the fall, I was talking to Bramble earlier in this video, she had a book published with Bramble, and she had an editor, and it was traditionally published. It's called Fall of Ruin and Wrath. Yeah, that one. And that's fucking amazing. Like, honestly, her writing in that popped off.
Oh my god, I'm remembering that book now, and that was a really good book.
I almost put it on my list.
Yeah. It's just not
I think I just need more of this series. I need more of that series, and then I might come back to it.
Book 2, guys, will be on the list next year. Yeah.
We'll have to do it again later. But, so, anyways, yeah, she needs an editor. But, guys,
the ending.
I was so obsessed with this book. I have never finished a book and needed to read the next one more than when I read this. I read From Blood and Ash. That From Blood and Ash was my first, like, smutty book that I ever read, and it opens with her going to a brothel and, like, this guy, like, licking her nipple. And that...
Wait, this is allowed?
And I lived in Florida at the time, and I was out at, like, the pool that our apartment complex had reading it, and I was like, oh my god, I'm in public, and I was, like, scarred, and, like, so From Blood and Ash has the guard trope, and then kind of flips on the head in the last, like, little bit of ending. JLA endings are next level.
Yes, they are.
If she would write smaller books that had less of a boring middle, she would, and, like, had an editor every day, like, phenomenal.
Amazing. Yes, I agree.
I think she would literally be up with, she would be mentioned with Sarah J. Maas and Rebecca Yarros for romantasy, and she's not, because she does not have an editor and because she writes too long of middles. But this book, so spoilers for From Blood and Ash 1. At the end of that book, we learn that Hawk.
Yes.
Hawk
Castile.
is Castile, is the dark one. And he's like, you're gonna marry me. And so this book then is enemies to lovers. It is the like forced marriage, arranged marriage trope, even though, like, it's only one-sided. Like, she's forced, he's not. He's making this decision.
Yeah.
The tension in this book is beautiful.
So much tension.
The magic in this book is something that I'm obsessed with. I'm just gonna actually, you know what? I'm gonna spoil this whole book right now, because there's so many more in the series, and I think you could stop with the 3rd book, because I know so many people have put this series down, but you probably read this one, and it's amazing. The fact that, like, at their wedding scene, then the like god, like the primals like bless upon their wedding, and like the ash trees growing, and like I don't know, I love whimsical magic like that. I don't know if it's in this book or the next one where Poppy, it's like right around there, where they finally reach Atlantis, and the guards try to they try to do a coup upon Poppy
Oh,
and
that's
kill
the
her.
ending of one of the books, and maybe that one.
Yeah.
That ending is so
I'm
good.
not sure. That I was fucking obsessed, and then all the Wolven are bowing to her instead of Castile. That switch, like that kind of stuff, is honestly what I live for in fantasy. That is my favorite thing ever. It's so whimsy. You have to read through a lot of like trash to get there.
Yeah.
I also like
There's plot twists. There's plot twists, and like
there's plot twists, and I do like spicy books if I'm reading a book for a spicy book. You know what I mean? Like if I know there's going to be a lot of spice in it, which you do, JLA books have, I think, a perfect amount of spice for romantasy. I think she like knows where to put them. She like makes them different, and I think that they move the plot along, honestly. Like I think if this book didn't have sex scenes, it would not be as good.
There's a lot of hate sex in JLA books.
Yeah.
Which if you're into that, it's hilarious. I loved the plot line of these books. I agree with you. That's fair. The ending of that one I know is like crazy.
I'm so obsessed with that. I think it was in the acknowledgments of maybe the first book. And she talked about how JLA was like, I was talking to my friend in an airport, and I gave them the idea that I had for the From Blood and Ash series. And she said that was the first time anyone begged her to write a series. That they were like, no, you absolutely have to write this. This is going to be so amazing. You need to do this.
Yes.
And honestly, as I was reading the first From Blood and Ash book, I was like, really? I was like, this is fine. Like, this is good, but I would not beg someone. And every single From Blood and Ash book I've read since then, I'm like, how much did she know at that moment? Like, how much did this friend at the airport get to hear?
Yes.
Because this book series, like, the magic grows so crazy. And there's so many things that, like, I actually think she planned this shit out. Like, there's a lot of, like, layers and, like, mystery that you slowly learn over time. And 100%. I would like every book I'm like, did that friend get to hear this bit? Because as it grows, I'm like, yeah, like I agree.
Yeah.
Do I think that like the middle of this series is starting to lag? Yes.
100%.
But like especially these initial stuff, I'm like, this is bangers. Straight bangers.
It is. You know, we get a bad taste in our mouth about JLA after certain. I think everyone kind of is. Yeah. But you gotta respect the source material. It's too good. It is too good, girl.
Okay.
I mean,
number one.
Yeah.
The top romantasy book that Peyton has ever read. Of course. Of course.
Girl. Zayden! It's too good. I feel there's if anyone watches Brittany Broski, she is like gotten into romantasy like head first. And it's so funny because you know where she's at. Like for a while she had like a Valaris t-shirt on, and then all of a sudden you see Basket War College on her, and she's like hello, like I belong to the dragon people. Like y'all, Aubrey mentioned like why this series is amazing, and all I have to say is Rebecca Yarros is it's weird to say pacing, especially in Fourth Wing, is one of a kind. And this is romantasy, and a lot of times men are like, oh, there's sex scenes in it, like I can't do that romance. I want to read Lord of the Rings. Like I want to read Name of the Wind. Like love you, Logan, but like oh my gosh, like there's nothing keeping me going. And I'm a girl's girl and I love some romance. Like, that's just like, I like the tension, and there's nothing more. I've never had tension like these characters.
Yeah.
So I'm obsessed. But with that being said, I've given this to 2 of my guy friends, and they've both been like, Peyton, this book is so good. And no, actually 3, because I know for a fact my one friend was like he was like, I need to call you. I don't talk to this friend, like, we're not that close. And he's like, can I call you? And I'm like, sure. And he's like, we need to talk about this book. He was like obsessed. He read Fourth Wing and Iron Flame because he was able to read them back to back, which, like, also fuck you. He was able to read them back to back. He read them in like both of these books in a week. Like,
wild.
I couldn't have done that. I read Fourth Wing, though, in 48 hours. This book has changed my life. As I reflect back to some of the moments, I'm like, oh, that's really cheesy. Or, like, there's some corny parts, and, like, sometimes the characters say stuff, and you're like, you know, when you're in a relationship and in the moment, you're, like, so into it, and then you look back, you're like, that's kind of icky. Sure. You know, Rebecca Yarros is first and foremost a romance writer. I had the opportunity and privilege to read one of her other just traditional, it was a military romance, which is really weird because I would never.
I didn't know you read another one of her books.
Yes. And it was so good. Like, it was a good book. Yeah. For me, reading just like a contemporary fictional story, like, once again, I think similar to SJM, she's good at building characters.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so, you know, the queen's gotta shine. But guys, I cannot believe that this trumped acomat. I for some reason looking at it, I thought it was gonna take place in like, I thought it was gonna be like an Asian female main character. I don't know. I was getting kind of like Year of the Dragon vibes with this.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, but guys, just the imagery, the setting, the plot twist, like, good job, Rebecca.
The nostalgia.
This is her first romantasy fantasy book at all, so she just took the world by storm with this, and I'm just so happy for her. And and now I have all the merch. Oh, and then Aubrey, I usually use my cereal acotar mug, but Aubrey got me this. And so I had to rep Fourth Wing today. But do not get me wrong, acomat is still one of my favorite books. But I always like once again, I'm just like, I have trepidation with this because I'm like, but I think I have a new boyfriend and his name's Zayden.
Yeah. Oh my god. No, the concept of that book is just banger. Like, that is a book that we told our professor about it. And like, she was like, I have to read it. And she read it over Thanksgiving break in like 2 days.
And she was obsessed.
Because like, you tell someone, you're like, it's a college setting. It feels a lot like Divergent. And like all of these childhood books coming together. There's dragons, like, I don't know. And I love a book where you can be like, what faction are you in?
Yes,
like,
you can,
as
like,
Divergent children. Yeah. Like, I want to be a writer so bad. I know I'm a scribe, but like,
I don't. Yeah, I think I would probably fall into the scribe category, but I love Violet.
I mean, we have
so
a book
much
podcast
that I'm like, I don't know. You know, like how Harry Potter has like the Potter quiz. I'm sure that they'll create a Fourth Wing one. Yeah. It's like everyone wants to be Gryffindor, but like, let's be honest, like, you gotta look within. And like, I'm a Ravenclaw. I'm a Ravenclaw, but let's be honest, I am a Hufflepuff. Yeah. So like, I am a Hufflepuff, but you know. But with that being said, yes, I am obsessed and looking forward to. I don't know. I'm sure Fourth Wing will just be my favorite book, and I'll probably hate the rest of the series because it won't be as good as Fourth Wing. But
you put Iron Flame on this list. Your commitment.
That it's book 5 though. Like, she's down. She is down there. Literally, JLA beat Iron Flame. So
JLA beat Fourth Wing.
Yeah, for you.
Don't trust my opinions. I don't know how. I'm still I don't know. Is Fourth Wing's a better book for sure. Fourth Wing is the best quality book on this list.
It's how it makes you feel, guys. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
reading is the vibes and how it makes you feel. So with that being said, Aubrey, what made you feel the best? I'm pretty sure I already know.
Yes.
So hold her up.
Guys, I am a Nesta girly. I love Nesta. And I love Nesta from book 1. I don't care. And I think everyone who thinks that Nesta's such a horrible person hasn't had sisters. And that'll also probably get a ton of
The comments are already, you're so mean.
You're so mean. Those girls are bullies. They like Nesta. No, here is my thing. Her journey in this book. I love the fact that so many people went into this book saying, I hate her, and came out of this book saying, I am her. Because I think that the power of self-reflection and, like, plot-wise, nothing happens in this book. Like, to be honest. Like, if you're looking for, like, a heavily action-packed book, like, there's action. There are definitely things happening in this book. But the point of this book is the internal, like, journey and, like, learning to love yourself a little bit more and processing trauma. And it is so, so beautiful. And it's so smutty. You know what? It can be both.
It can be both.
Give me a book who can do both, because I literally read this book, I think, in a day. Like, and she's fat.
Yeah.
She's a big girl.
I
think it was more like, it took me, like, I read, like, the first, like, I don't know, 100 pages in, like, a week. And then I got, like, to that 200-page-ish mark.
And just read it all.
And I read it all.
Mm-hmm.
I love this book. I love Nesta. She has a bite to her. She has a kick to her. But she, I think, is one of the most realistic characters that Sarah J. Maas has ever written. I think she hits so close to home. It's funny because I see her as myself and my sister. Which, I'm sorry, Chloe. I know she hates being brought up, and I don't know why I cannot stop talking about her in the podcast.
Is she over it? She's like, stop naming me in the podcast.
She's like, stop talking about me. But my sister is a bully, and I love her, and she's mean. And, like, I don't know. Like, I think that I am more of a fbaa in terms of my relationship to my siblings. Not in the, like, going out and protecting, but just kind of, like, that positioning.
Yeah.
fbaa gives strong middle child vibes, even though she's the youngest. Like, the book was written wrong. fbaa should be a middle child. But Nesta's, like, depression and self-hatred in this book, like, hits home. It hits home so hard. And Sarah J. Maas literally talks about how, like, she was going through, like, the darkest time of her life when she was writing this. She wrote this for her. She says she struggles to read this because of that. I don't know, like, the finding solace, the, like, not fitting in with people. Like, honestly, Nesta does not belong in the, like, inner circle. Like, she is not. She doesn't mesh with those people well.
And I
went into the book. I was like, I don't understand how. Like, I was, like, kind of, like, almost disappointed after reading Frost and Starlight. I was like, Nesta is never going to fit into the inner circle. I was like, and it's going to feel so contrived, like, forcing her there. But that's not what Sarah did. She finds her own people. And, like, I think that, like, even that, like, recognizing, like, your family, like, because she was forced to turn into Fae because of, like, fbaa's actions.
Yeah.
She's put into this world of the Fae where she's so uncomfortable. She does not belong. She does not want to be there. And she cannot fit in. Like, of course she's a bitch.
Yeah.
We all would be horrible people.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like, have you ever been somewhere where you are like, I don't belong here. No one here likes me. I cannot fit in. Like, we all would turn nasty.
Yeah, and I just think to, like, a lot of Nesta haters, like, that's your journey, that is okay. Like, I'm not here to tell you to like a character, because she's just a character in a book that does not exist. But there are Nestas in the world, and if you've been hurt by a Nesta, I am so sorry, but I'm more sorry to the Nestas that are going through what they are going through.
Mhm.
There's this podcast. I have to shout them out because they actually live near us. Whimsy Gossip. They covered
Yes.
Nesta, and the way that they talk about Nesta and her journey, I think, is like an important thing to listen to if you hate Nesta, because like they get very vulnerable and they talk about how Nesta's story like really just resonated with some of them. And like, so I don't need your hate.
I know.
But
also, there's a difference between someone who is mean to be mean and someone who is like Nesta.
Mean,
like,
because they're hurting.
Truly, Nesta still, like, even when she was mean to Feyre, she still tried to go save Feyre from the Fae. She still tried to go to Prythian in book 1. In book 1, Nesta's still trying to show up and love her sibling. Like, there's a true difference between someone like Nesta who is hurting and going through something and doesn't respond to situation and is a complex, flawed character than the person in your life who's just an abuser. And I think that people can't separate that as well. Because there are people who do not deserve your forgiveness. There are people you should just cut off in real life. But that is not Nesta's story.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. But with that being said, I love in A Court of Silver Flames how Cassian handles her.
Yeah.
There's a
and
lot
he's been
of
getting
tough love to those people that's like, okay, girl, climb that mountain. Okay. Like when she's doing the steps, he's like, are you tired yet? Like, but like you just see that outpouring of love for her and like, oh, it's just so sweet to find people that are just like not great people and like a certain point in their life and they find someone who like accepts them for who they are.
Yeah.
And I think that Cassian never tries to fix Nesta or change her. He accepts her for and loves her for all of her good and bad, but also fixes her by encouraging her to look within and fix herself. He's not the one. He pushes her the right amount in this book, and like as someone who was like, oh, Cassian, by the end of this book I was like, Cassian, like I'm usually not one for like the big brute. Hence why I love Azriel, even though he has the largest wingspan. But
Cassian does a perfect balance of like, he's not taking her shit. Like he's not telling her, oh, you were totally fine fucking up like that. Like he's like, I'm not taking your shit, but I will always show up for you.
Right.
You can throw whatever you need at me and I will come back the next day and we can try again.
Yeah.
And that was exactly what she needed, because if someone else like Rhysand would not have been able to handle that.
He doesn't have the patience.
No, he literally would have been like, fix yourself.
I'm
Fuck
gone.
you. Like I will kill you. Like either like get better or die.
Yeah.
And like, but Cassian was just like, you fucked up.
Bear. Yeah.
I'll come back again. We'll try again tomorrow. Like I'm going to stand by your side while you fucking fix yourself.
Yeah. But I'm not going to fix you. You have to do it for yourself.
Yeah.
And so, of course, that turns into amazing sex scenes.
Yes.
And in the book, Nesta reads smut.
Yes.
So,
Nesta is us.
So Nesta is so relatable in that way where and then he makes fun of her the same way like my fiance is like, you're in your smut books again. I'm like, they're not just all smut. And that's a girl who doesn't love like a lot of smut and like dirty smut. I'm like, but they're not. Like, I fall in love with the love story and like the characters. So with that being said, these books are amazing. I love romantasy so much. I wish I could just stare at them all day. And good for us for reading these beefy books, and good for you guys.
I know, they're big.
For reading these beefy books. I'm looking at my Crescent City books. I'm like, I did that. That's like, if you look at all those books together, it's like, damn,
they're huge. They fit.
Alrighty, everyone, please comment down below what your top 5 romantasy books are. I am
Yes.
literally dying to know. There's a lot of books. We were gonna talk about Powerless, Divine Rivals, Ruthless Vows. But they are nowhere near our top 5.
No.
But maybe they're on your top 5, and that's totally
Yes.
okay. So please down below rank them. Let us know what you
Mhm.
agreed with.
I
We
think there's some really good ones out there that we haven't read yet, like
yes,
Serpent of Wings or whatever. Like I know
yes.
that's huge and we haven't gotten to yet. So
Yeah, please let us know. You're like, girls, why isn't this on your top
correct.
5?
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe Fourth Wing will become number 2 and Math will
Yeah.
become number 3. I don't know what I'm
Oh
going
my
to do with
God.
myself. But with that being said, thank you so much. Like, subscribe. It helps us out more than you know. And go
Yeah.
follow our Instagram. We're on TikTok. And join the conversation.
Yes. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. Oh my God, I'm like bending my wrist backwards. Thank you so much for joining us and happy reading.